If you want extraordinary results, you need to do extraordinary things. And I feel like that's the challenge. Ready is not a feeling, it's a decision. So really, when I started, things started falling into place very fast. And for me, trusting the process means making a decision responsibly, just like working your options and doing the work, showing up, doing the work, and making the best decision possible, having done the work. We need more women going after their dreams because our children are watching.
Hello, my love. Welcome to another episode of Blisstopia podcast. I'm your host, Mercedes Castellani, and I'm so happy to be recording this episode with you today. Today, we're going to talk about really transforming your life, going into your life purpose. And today, I'm interviewing one of my dream clients, Ana Liz Chibán, who has been part of Path to Purpose. And she's a true example of what we can achieve when we are actually bold and we go after the things that we want. So Ana Liz Chibán is a human rights advocate turned career mentor and growth strategist. She began her path as a lawyer focused on supporting communities that were affected by human rights violations. Her work in humanitarian settings led her to train in trauma-informed care and psychological first aid and spark her own journey of personal growth and redefinition. Today, she supports professionals in times of transition. She helps them find clarity, build a strategy, and tell their stories in a powerful, confident way. Her work bridges personal authenticity and professional direction, always with a grounded, intentional support. So, for the record, and for those of you who want a bit more context, Ana Liz and I, we met back in university, I think more than 15 years ago. So that was a long, long time ago. We both studied in the top business university in Argentina, which is called Universidad de San Andrés. I studied business, Ana Liz studied law. And kind of our paths went on separate ways. She was in Harvard, living the American dream. I came to Europe, living the European dream. And then our paths basically collided again because now we have things in common and we're both in this path of transformation. So welcome, Ana Liz, to the show. I'm super happy to be having this conversation with you.
Thank you, Mer. I'm so happy to be here. And really, your journey has been inspirational for me and for many others I know. So I'm so glad our paths cross again.
So I think we're going to have a beautiful, very grounded conversation today about what's possible when we actually want to go and follow our purpose and even how that purpose can change sometimes. So tell us your story. I don't want to reveal too much, but tell us your story. Who is Ana Liz Chibán?
You know, that's such a powerful question because I've always struggled with definitions because they feel like so definitive. I mean, and I've always feared being stuck or being reduced to something that doesn't fully represent me or doesn't align fully to who I am as a whole. And I feel like that's also why I've changed so many times my career path because like nothing, I come from this limiting belief, you know, that what you do defines you. So like, okay, I'm a lawyer and then that's who I am. And I don't know if I want to be, what type of lawyer. Like really definitions, I've always struggled with them. So I could tell you I am a lawyer. I could tell you I am an activist, a human rights advocate, a career strategist, mentor maybe. And I think all of that will be true. But above all, somebody who really is driven by meaningful, by meaning, by justice, by connection with other people. And if I had to really define myself, I would say that first of all, I'm a mother, and that's may sound as a cliche. Really, motherhood and becoming a mother has really shaped me and transformed me in a very profound way. And I think that could be an entire different conversation. But I am a mother. Above all, I am a work in progress, and I think all of us are, right? And the moment I made peace with that I am a work in progress, that I am evolving, that I am a person who is driven by justice and is driven by meaning and is driven by human connections, but is just evolving and growing every day. I think that's the best definition I could grasp of myself.
I love it. I love it. And I think just by this answer, the listeners are going to be able to tell who you are. So Ana Liz is not afraid to go into the depths of everything, into the depths of herself. And that's also what made, I think, our coaching process so deep. because you're really questioning yourself the whole time and go really deep into all these different subtle layers. It's a true joy. It's been a true joy to work with you in the past, and it's a true joy. It's going to be a true joy to have this conversation with you today. I like what you said about redefining, defining and redefining 1,000 times who we are, because that's always changing. And sometimes we can tie it up to what we do, but not necessarily. And you recently posted a reel that was very interesting. It was several versions of you. I don't remember how many, but 7 or 10 versions of you. And you were saying, this is also me, who was a lawyer studying in Harvard. This is also me. The activist. This is also me. The career strategist now. This is also me. So walk us through all of those versions that you've had. And I would like to understand what changed, but also which are the common traits that never change. In spite of which shape it might take, I'm sure there are some common traits that never change.
Yeah, I mean, that really was really personal for me to make because it really captures, I think, the process that we did together in Path to Purpose. Because really, I mean, I am all of those persons, right? Like the lawyer, the activist, as I said before, the NGO co-founder, the Harvard grad. And I think that all of those were different forms of myself, with different tools, with different strategies, with different languages also. But the core remained the same, that fire, that passion of doing of doing transformative work, of being driven by what I said before. I will repeat those words a lot, but by being driven by justice, by that idea of doing something impactful, powerful, transformative. And I think that's the common trait among all of those versions of myself. And also I would say the determination of just figuring it out and doing it and trying, even when things were not clear or when I didn't have all the answers. Just going with it, showing up and doing the work. And I think that's what I'm most proud of myself also, of showing up anyways and trying to figure out on the way. And I think going back to that definition of being a work in progress, I made peace with the fact that I am all of those versions of myself and those that are yet to come, because like there's no final destination. We're not going to get somewhere where we're just going to be comfortable and that's going to be who we are, but rather it's the nature of the human experience, growing, evolving, changing. And I think that the moment I made peace with that, I released a lot of tensions and expectations and mandates.
And I think what it's interesting is that all of those different versions are there, and it's like you're integrating those versions. You're not killing those past versions and saying, okay, this is the one that's alive and all of the other ones were never valid, they never existed, they're dead. You're integrating all of those past versions because they all have things that are contributing to who you are right now in very different ways. And when we started working together, one of the things that was really beautiful for me to witness was how heart-led you really are. You went into humanitarian rights, you went into law because you wanted to change things at a certain level, maybe in the private sector. Then you move into humanitarian rights because you really wanted to change things and support people in very complicated situations. And now you moved into career coaching as a career strategist because you really want to help people achieve the things that they want to achieve through their career. So there's always this need to really support people in very different ways. And what is really interesting in your story as well is that we could say that when you were being a human rights activist, you were already very aligned with your purpose and what you came here to do. But then at some point, that model, that structure stopped working for you. It was like it was time for something new. And it's interesting your story because it's not like you went from, okay, I was a lawyer, and then I wanted to do something that made sense. You were already doing something that made a lot of sense, that was contributing a lot to the planet, but you wanted to do something else. So it's a very interesting stage of defining and redefining who we want to be and how we can contribute in beautiful ways.
It's funny that you mention it because for me, I didn't see it that way. I saw it as I've been doing completely different things that are completely unrelated to one another. Like I went from corporate law to working in a refugee camp supporting survivors of the most atrocious types of violence. And then I am now still working for that project, but from a very different side. Like I'm working more on management and sustainability and strategy, and I'm doing career strategizing, and I was like, there's nothing in common along all of those things. And I think that one of the things that I unveiled in my work with you inside Path to Purpose was exactly that there were not so different from one another, right? Like there was a very strong connection, and it was related to transformative work, to actually supporting transitions. And yes, of course, it's not necessarily comparable, supporting somebody who is fleeing war and persecution to somebody who, I don't know, just became a mother and wants to change their career. There is something very humane in both experiences, and I feel like there is a connection. And I was somehow able to see how everything that I trained on in my work as a private lawyer and then working in humanitarian settings supported me in this new career vision that I had, that I didn't know how to make it right. So I think that was one of the things that maybe now seems obvious, but for me it really wasn't. It was like, how am I going to go from, it happened every time. Like, how am I going to go from working as a private corporate lawyer to working in a refugee camp? Well, I feel like that experience really served me because I was able, with an amazing team. I mean, it's not just me, of course, but we were able to bring the standards of the private practice to a very professional, ethical, humanitarian legal aid organization. And then I feel like everything that I learned, my training in trauma-informed care to my training in psychological first aid, is super relevant for the work that I'm doing now. And at the same time, the work that I'm doing now somehow brings back that creativity part to my work with my organization that now feels very much aligned again. And at some point it wasn't. So it's one of my biggest insights, I think, that I got from A Path to Purpose was like really understanding that there was a common thread in my professional experience that really was not going from sales to modeling, like it was really connected. It made sense.
Yes, yes. And it's like that very famous Steve Jobs speech. You've heard it. We don't know, but when we look back and we can clearly connect the dots, but we need to go through the whole process and then eventually look back and it's like, oh, it all made sense. Everything was preparing me for this.
But sometimes you cannot do it alone. And that's, I think that's a very important realization. Like it's very hard for you to, because that's what I do now, right? I look at people's stories and I connect the dots. And that's what I did when I supported refugees, right? I helped them tell their stories in a powerful way. I helped them connect with what happened to them and use it in a way to claim the asylum that they deserve, to claim their rights. And I feel like that's again what I'm doing now, right? I help people own their story, their personal story, their professional story, and tell it in a way that it's powerful and that helps them get where they want to go, either grad school or get their new job or change careers or start a business. And I feel like that for myself, I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't see all of this for myself. And I'm really good at connecting the dots in other people's stories. I think that's one of the things that I can do the best. But for me, no, I really couldn't. So I feel like also realizing when you need the appropriate guidance is something important, right? Like you need to know when you cannot do it alone and look for help, look for somebody who can see the good in you, who can help you connect the dots. I think that's super important.
Absolutely. So let's rewind a little bit because now we're talking about some of the insights and the transformation, but let's rewind a little bit for the listeners so that they can understand where you were before Path to Purpose. What was your life like and how were you feeling before this program?
So before Path to Purpose, I was 6 months into postpartum. And it's funny because every time I say that, I think of my dad, who every time I mention the word postpartum, he's like, how long does postpartum last for you? Like, it's been 6 months. How much more? Because he has like this, this idea that postpartum is like for like the quarantine, like this 2 months, maybe a little more if you had a complicated C-section period where women are led by their hormones and all they care about is the baby. And then by an art of magic, suddenly you are back to self, like you are 2 months later on, back to who you were, and like everything is fine, and you go to work and you deliver and you perform. And like, yeah, you had a baby, but he's there in the crib and that's fine, and you continue. So and studies have shown that postpartum is much longer, right? Like matter sense, the process women go through when they become mothers can have changes happening in your brain for up to 2 years or more. So really, I mean, this, again, we could have another whole conversation about this, but I was 6 months into postpartum, and I was very tired. And I also felt very disconnected from what I really wanted to do. I had been in Argentina for a while. I continued working for my project in Greece, but I was working on something that was very different from what I had done for many years. That was actually working with clients and supporting their own journeys, their own legal journeys. And I was working more on sustainability of the organization, fundraising, strategy. We were going through a difficult moment in terms of fundraising and sustainability, and I felt really disconnected from the work, and I felt stuck, and I felt also a lot of FOMO. I feel like that's a very typical characteristic of motherhood, like you feel FOMO all the time, fear of missing out on everything. Like when you're a baby, you are feeling like you should be working more, and then when you're working, you're feeling like, oh, my baby's crying, and I'm here. And like, it's very typical, but I also felt it in a way that made me feel very guilty, because I was in such a privileged position, that, like, having supported people who had to fight their entire life just to be safe, it felt wrong just to be in this position where I really didn't feel like I was doing what I wanted, but I also didn't know what was that I wanted. So now, with my clients, I use a metaphor. I ask them to give me a metaphor of how they feel in this exact moment. And if you had asked me what was my metaphor, I think that it was standing in a hall, in a very big hall, very fancy, with a lot of doors closed, and I just didn't know which one to open. And also feeling that if I opened one, then this is it. Like, FOMO of the possibilities that were lying in the other doors. So not just not knowing which was the right door for me, but also fearing that if I opened the wrong door, then I was stuck with it. And then what do I do? And with this very strong guilt of, like, this is wrong because I have so many opportunities. Like, this is just wrong. So yeah, this is where I was, and this is what I was feeling when I reached out, and when we started with the process at Path to Purpose.
Yes, and I remember it was I think you were also very tired emotionally from postpartum, but also you had seen and lived so many difficult things back in Greece. It's not, when we are supporting people through these really difficult life and death situations, it has an impact on our bodies, it has an impact on our emotions. And I remember when we first started speaking, there was a lot of emotion coming up because this was still in your nervous system, in your aura, this was still there. And I
Yeah,
think we were
it's
able,
in my
little
body.
by little, in your body, and we were little by little to release all of those emotions. You're a very empathetic person, very sensitive person, and when we are like this, we tend to pick up on other people's emotions, and you've been picking up on people who were in very, very complicated situations that no one should ever go through. So there was a lot of releasing all of that, releasing all of those emotions that weren't yours, and then also starting to realize, okay, what do I want? What do I want? Where do I want to go? So what was that process like for you?
I think it was what's the word? It was different than what I expected, in the sense that, I don't know, we all have these ideas of how clarity is gained, right? Like how we reached clarity. And I somehow expected that there will be a blue light in the sky turning on when I arrive to the right decision. And that doesn't happen, right? Like, you have to trust in the process. And for me, trusting the process means making a decision responsibly, just like working your options and doing the work, showing up, doing the work, and making the best decision possible, having done the work. And I don't know why, but I somehow, after like months of going back and forth, I still expected the blue light to turn on the sky when the right decision was made. And I feel like understanding that doesn't happen and trusting the process was also part of the learning experience in the program, because really the process is not linear. It's not like you made a decision today and tomorrow, okay, everything aligns. No, like we went back and forth many times, and I changed my ideas, and I had a very strong intuition of where I wanted to go, but I didn't dare to go there, and also I wasn't sure what form that intuition would take. And I feel like trusting the process is one of my biggest learning experiences of the entire process, like learning to understand that things take their time and trusting that they will unfold the way they should. And that's mantra that I learned from another mentor. This is what it looks like as it is coming together. And I keep repeating that to myself, like this is what it looks like as it's coming together.
It's beautiful, and it brings a lot of peace, because sometimes we want to be on the other side with everything figured out. And this is like, okay, this is what the process actually looks like as things are shaping and forming. And also, as you said, we can, inside of this program, some people will come and it's like, okay, it's very linear. Some people will come, it seems like it's very clear, and then they change their mind and they go into something else, and that second thing becomes clear. Some people come with no ideas whatsoever. Some people come with a bunch of ideas. So also from my side, as we go into this process, we go together. It's like we're sailing together. And I don't know how that process is going to be, because I'm not here to provide the answers. I'm here to ask the right questions at the right moment so that each person can find their own answers. And then we're going to look at it from 70 different points of views to make sure that that is the right answer for you specifically. But also for me, as I go into the process, I don't know how this is going to turn out for each person. And that's the beauty of it. We're discovering this together. And I'm going to be asking every person 1,000 questions to make sure that that is the thing. And if any limiting beliefs come up, we're going to clear all of those limiting beliefs. And we had a lot of that work also with you, clearing some beliefs that were there that didn't necessarily allow you to step into something new. So we also worked a lot on those things. And I think it's one of the things that makes me the most proud.
But also, I want to say something, something about the other side. I also feel like there isn't the other side. That doesn't exist, in the sense that, and for me, this is the biggest realization, right? There isn't a destination. There isn't the other side. Like maybe you see somebody else in a position that you would like to be in, but they are already in another process. They are already evolving. They are already growing. They don't have everything figured out. They are not necessarily that person that has everything decided and that is very clear on absolutely everything. No, they're already evolving. They're already creating something different. So that other side is another version of you that will continue to grow and that will continue to evolve. And I think that what's most powerful of a process like Path to Purpose is that you learn to find the answers within you with the right guidance. And there's another mantra that I always use and keep repeating to myself, and it's everything I need is within me. And it's a mantra that I learned when I was preparing for my birth. And it's true, like all the answers are within you. You just need somebody who is bold enough to ask the right questions and help you find them. So I think that that's the type of guidance that you would get in a process like Path to Purpose, like helping you find the answers within you and getting a clear action plan on how to make that clarity into something tangible, into something that actually you can see, that you can touch, that you can witness with your senses.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's funny from my side, because people, for example, might come with different options and things they want to do. And they're like, yeah, well, I've been doing A my whole life. And you can tell they are dead inside. Like A is not the option. Or I could do B. Yeah, that makes also sense, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, the idea that I've always had in my mind is C, blah, 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 blah. And they start speaking and they come alive and they're full of energy. And for me, it's so clear. It's like, okay, it's C. Of course. Just because you sit and you listen and you ask questions, and you just tune into the person's energy and you can feel so clearly that it's C. And then it's like, okay, once we realize that it's actually C, the option that the person wants to take right now. And as you said, that can still evolve over and over again. And I think your point of view is beautiful because it brings a lot of freedom. We are allowed to change, and that's okay. we're not set in stone. And if we do believe that we're set in stone, that's actually a limiting belief that is keeping us stuck in one version of ourselves, where in reality we could be still evolving and being happier. So once we spot that C is the option that is really lighting up the person, it's okay. Then let's start building C. Tell me more about C. Let's dream about C. And then how can we make this actually happen and turn this into reality? So you came into this program feeling like there were 1,000 doors. You were in this alley, beautiful alley, 1,000 doors. You didn't know which one to open. A lot of FOMO, feeling stuck. And how are you feeling now?
And now I'm feeling very tired still. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's amazing to choose yourself, to choose to bet on yourself, but it's also hard work. It's hard work. It's showing up when you don't want to, showing up when you're tired, showing up when you are doubting yourself, showing up when you're starting to change your mind. It's, for me, it was not clarity once and for all, right? It's not like I gained clarity, okay, all of the doubts are gone, all of the FOMO is gone, all of the alternatives are gone. It didn't work like that for me, and I don't think it works like that for most people. But it becomes a choice, like it becomes a decision. It becomes a decision to feel in a certain way, a decision to align myself with my higher version, with the future self, with who I really want to be, and that's a very powerful work. So I have clarity. I have a decision to make every day, and I think that that's beautiful. So I started my own program. It's called Connect. It's a program designed to support professionals in periods of transition. So either going to grad school or changing jobs or changing careers or coming back after a pause. And that has been super powerful. And at the same time, I continue working for Phoenix, for my organization, but from a very different place. I feel like somehow doing this work and reconnecting with who I really wanted to be helped me find creativity and find new ways of doing my job. And really, I'm amazed at that, because now I tackle my responsibilities that are not very different from the ones that I had 6 months ago, but with a very different energy. And I have more ideas, and everything feels more like creative. And I am supporting our teams from in ways that I really didn't know I could. And so I think that that has been amazing. And then, of course, I am a mother, which is another level of showing up and doing the work and growing every single day. So, but I feel super, super confident. I feel super aligned. I have doubts, of course. I have days where I again go back to that alley, to that hall, and think about the other doors. But if I had to describe it with another metaphor, it's like if the other doors were shrinking, like, and there's only one big, beautiful doors and the others are just there, but it's clear that I want to go through the big, beautiful door, like that would be the metaphor if I had to put it in a
Beautiful.
more, yeah.
Beautiful. So you've been able to redesign the way you were working in your current job so that it would also drain less energy, bring more creativity, bring more fun into that because you're still working for that organization. At the same time, you've created your own practice as a career strategist, which is amazing and it's going very, very well. It's starting very, very well. And you're also a mom. So it's a lot of things that you're juggling all at the same time. And if you don't think of yourself as a Wonder Woman, you should, because it's a lot. It's a lot. Some women with a job and a child, they would be already like a bit overwhelmed. Imagine a job, a child, and creating a new business. So it's like,
It is a lot. I am no Wonder Woman, but I do have a Wonder husband, and I also do have a lot of support. So I really, really want to stress that. I cannot stress that enough. Really, having the support of your family changes everything, because you know how there's this trend now going on in TikTok and Instagram, like we all have the same 24 hours, and I don't think that's true, because it's not the same. If you have a family to support you, if your kid has grandparents to help, if you have the possibility of affording daycare, it really makes a big deal. So I am no Wonder Woman, but I do have a husband and a couple of Wonder grannies. We really do. And I feel like I've been able also to put a big part of that FOMO away and trying to be more present in everything that I do. It's a work in progress as well, but it has been super helpful to work on presence, on being mindfully present in everything that I do, so that FOMO is so I can win a little bit the battle against FOMO. It's not easy, and I don't win every day, but I'm there. I'm competing. I'm
It's
like
getting better.
we're hand to hand. Yeah.
Amazing. So during the program, what do you think shifted inside of you? Because sometimes it's hard to describe what happens inside of Path to Purpose because it's very subtle. So sometimes it's difficult to put words into it. But if you had to describe it to someone, what shifted inside of you? What were your main breakthroughs or unexpected insights? What happened?
So for me, it was building up. Like every day, I would be like moving 2 steps forward and then 1 step backwards, and then 2 steps forwards and then two back. Like it was not a breakthrough where you say, okay, this is what I want to do. Like I cannot spot that moment, but I did feel how my confidence in myself, in my story, was building up through small breakthroughs, like understanding that first, this that we discussed before, understanding that there is a common thread and there is something that has been preparing me for this. Second, understanding that I have been doing this for longer than I thought, right? I have been doing career strategizing for a lot of people for a very long time, even though I didn't have necessarily like a business set up around it. Everything I learned about motherhood and about becoming a mother also was connected to this life transitions idea of supporting that space or holding that space for people. So I think that for me it was a very subtle, as you said, process of just building confidence and building trust. And I think the biggest breakthrough was when I gave myself permission to name it out loud. This is what I want, because it becomes real. When you name something, it becomes real. And say, okay, this is what I want to do. And it took me a while, right? Like I was speaking in less clear ways, like, okay, maybe I would like to do this, or maybe this is what I would like to go. And there was one day when I really like just said it out loud, like, this is what I want. And then it became real. And then I think that the second one was when I decided to start, when I decided that I needed to begin, because really, and this is my biggest lesson, you don't need clarity. You don't need everything ready. Like you will never be ready. Ready is not a feeling; it's a decision. So really, when I started, things started falling into place very fast, very fast. So I, of course, then also got more support, another mentorship to help me with building business strategy and all of that. But really, when I started, things started falling into place. So saying it out loud, giving myself permission to start, and starting without having everything figured out were like my biggest breakthroughs. In a very non-linear process for me. It was like I even felt like, oh, what is Mercedes going to say to me today? What I'm again going to tell her that I'm having doubts about what we already discussed last week. Like it was all like going back and forth, 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards. Like that, I got to the point where I said, okay, this is what I want, and named it and went for it. And I'm still going for it. It's not, again, once and for all. You go for it every single day. And I think
Absolutely.
that's the challenge. That's the challenge. Because how many episodes of Blisstopia podcast have you recorded? Like this is episode
47.
147, and you still show up every single week. So there's no other side. You have to show up every single day. So it's like motherhood in a way. It doesn't matter if I slept well. It doesn't matter how I'm feeling. I have to show up every day.
And choose to be this version that we want to be. I think it's beautiful what you said about owning your desire and naming your desire, because I think sometimes we feel it's there, but until we're able to say, okay, this is it, I can own, this is what I want, this is who I'm going to be from now on, or this is who I'm going to try to be from now on until I become that person. I think that's the biggest shift.
and also what you need to become that person, right? Because you will need a lot of things. You need to work on yourself. You need to upgrade your nervous system. You need to upgrade your belief. You need to upgrade your money mindset. You need to, it's not just a one decision and then you go for it. It's really aligning yourself with that version that you want to become today and not waiting for that version to become, because it doesn't work like that. So really, I feel like path to purpose for me was also a space where I really realized, okay, I need this process, but I also need a lot more, right? Like it's not just 1 hour session with Mercedes, it's everything that she, like the exercises, the meditations, the going back to myself, to holding quiet space for me, to going back to my body, learning how to go back to my and for women I guess it's very difficult sometimes to go back to our bodies, and this is a type of work that I had started when I was in Greece, because I really needed to be able to hold space for others in a very difficult context. I really needed to be at my best self, the best diet, the best sleeping patterns, the best tools for nervous system regulation. So I really was very disciplined with all of that when I was there. But then when I came back, I feel like a lot of things stuck in my body started to emerge, and the work we did was so important also for that, for realizing, okay, there's a lot I need to do. There's a lot of work I need to do. So there's a therapist that I know that always said, feeling good requires a lot of work. Like it does require work. It's not only when you don't feel good that you need to, like, you have to do a lot of things to feel good. And it's very important how you show up every day. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think to become this version of ourselves that we want to be, for me, it's kind of like the process that an athlete goes by. Because yes, you see it on social media and it's like so easy and so relaxed and the energy is so high. But in order to have that energy that is so high, that person is going to bed quite early. That person is definitely not drinking alcohol or doing any kind of whatever things you might find out there. That person is eating very well. That person is training the way they're supposed to train. There's a lot of things that go, and then you see them do this. For example, you see an athlete and they do this beautiful movement. But how many times have they practiced that movement? How many good, healthy habits they have in place in order to be their best selves in every possible way? Because maybe drinking a lot of water versus not drinking a lot of water is the difference between the movement being absolutely sublime and not being sublime. There is a lot of work that goes behind once we decide, okay, this is the person that I want to be. Whatever that means for each and every one of us, it takes very, very different ways. But if we do decide, for example, to become a business owner, there is so much work around that. As you said, we need to work on our money mindset. We need to work on our nervous system to be able to hold all of those clients and all of that money and all of that success. We need to work on our mindset in general. What limiting beliefs do we have? There's a lot of work that needs to be done. And that's also the fun of it. If it would be so easy and we can do it in one day, I think we would be looking for another challenge. But it does require a lot of work to become that woman that we want to be, whether that's becoming, a very successful executive and she needs to have a certain confidence and a sort of personal brand within the company, whether that's having your own business, very different things. How do we train to become that person? How do we become her?
Yeah, 100%. I think the comparison with athletes is super accurate, because we praise them, right? We praise athletes for what they can do, and sometimes we overlook the years and years and years of consistent work, of consistent lifestyle. And yes, if you want extraordinary results, you need to do extraordinary things. And I feel like that's the challenge. And for me, motherhood added another layer to that, because really, I want my child to see that you can do what you want to do if you put in the work. And of course, I know I'm speaking from a place of privilege, but I want to really see that he shouldn't be bounded by mandates or by what people think he should do, but rather that he should go after what he believes he can do best, or what he wants to do in his life. And I think that's also another layer of power there, right? I want him to see myself as a role model for what I say and what I do, and not just what I teach him. I want him to see me every day, build my dream life.
Absolutely. And I think I'm not a mom yet. It's in the works, manifestation. But I think it's so important for the children how happy their mom is. There's research on that. Of course, you know way more than me on this topic, but from what I've heard, there's research that shows that it's so important for the children because they're very connected to the mom's nervous system. So if the mom is happy and the mom is doing what she wants to be doing and she's being who she wants to be, that's happiness guaranteed for the children. And as you say, it's also a role model of you can be whoever you want to be and forget about all the expectations, including mine as your
It's true,
mother.
including mine. So the other day I saw a post. I don't know who wrote it, so I won't be able to give credit. But it said we need more women going after their dreams because our children are watching. That's
So
exactly
beautiful.
what I mean.
So beautiful. So beautiful. So, what would you say to a woman who's maybe thinking about joining Path to Purpose? She's maybe a little bit scared for very different reasons that can come up. What would you tell this woman?
So I would tell her first, never underestimate the power of investing in yourself. I think that the return of the investment when you make an investment on yourself is impossible to value, like really. And second, that this is a space, a very safe space for you to navigate your own dreams and who you want to be. And I think that that's super powerful because it's not like a structured program that you may fear that's going to not be accurate for you. There's one path to purpose for every person that joins it, and it's different for every one of us, and it's very personalized. And to trust that the answers are within you. You just need the guidance of somebody who can see you with compassion and who can help you find them. And for me, it has been life changing. So I would really like just text me and I will convince you. Like whoever is thinking, just you have my Instagram somewhere in this episode. Just text me and I'll convince you. But really, for me, it has been life changing, and I didn't know where it was going to lead me. So you don't need clarity. You don't need a clear question. You don't need options of possible answers. You just need the uncomfort of being somewhere you feel like you have outgrew. If you are somewhere you feel you have outgrown that place, then I think you should try this because
Mm.
the process and what you can discover in that process about yourself is really life changing and it's unbelievable. So yes, thank you,
So
Mary.
happy. So happy for you, Annie, and so happy for all the women who are inside, and so happy for all the women who are about to enter into this work because it really is profound. And sometimes it's difficult to describe what happens inside, but the person that enters the program and the person that leaves the program is not the same person. And then I've also had the chance to experience so that transformation in 4 months, and people decide to renew and we do 8 months sometimes. But I've also had the chance now because I've been doing this for a while to maybe the person does the program and then we kind of like, okay, they live their life and I look into, what they're doing 1 year after that and they're a whole new person. And they would never be in that spot if it wasn't for those 4 months of deep, deep, deep transformation. And this is really like my biggest honor in life and my biggest joy to watch all of these flowers bloom.
But something else that I didn't say but I think it's also important is that I think that your own journey, Mer, as a person who changed her career and who went from working in the corporate world to just teaching it to support women in their transformation. I think that that's also inspiring, and that being on a table with somebody who has done that, if you are doubting who you think you want to be career wise, or maybe your purpose is not related to a career, right? Like, I mean, path to purpose is about that. What's your purpose? Maybe it's not about a career. It's about
Mm.
something else. That's I want to honor that because in my head, and that's also a limiting belief that I still carry. The purpose is related to something that is your career, and it doesn't have to be this way. But I think I kind of lost my train of thought. But being in a table with somebody who has been through that experience also makes it possible for you. And I feel like something else that I gained from Path to Purpose was a community. And maybe this is not obvious for you, but you have connected me with other women who were doing things that aligned with what I had in mind, and recommended me workshops and yoga classes and accounts of people who maybe through this work or maybe not, but that have really made it more possible for me. I attended a fertility yoga class with somebody who you worked with, and then you recommended me a specific podcast episode of somebody. So the whole thing helps you become part of a community in a way of people who are doing this work, and makes you feel less alone and gives you a sense of possibility, because also we have this limiting belief of like the others, this was possible for others, but is it really possible for me? And I think that when you sit in a table where there are others who made it possible, it becomes possible for you as well. So I think that's also something really interesting about the way you work. And I think you should maybe think about having like a alumni, because I think it's super interesting, because we have something in common, that is that we're
Yes.
craving for more, and we are looking for a way of making that vision alive, and it makes you feel like you're not alone. I think that's powerful as well.
Absolutely. And that work is really bespoke because it's basically for every person. What does this person need? And what is the world that this person can create around themselves to be who they want to be? Who are the expanders and the recommendations for this person? So everything is absolutely bespoke for every person. And I think what you said about expanders is so important. To have expanders are people who already have or who already are what we want to be or what we want to have. And basically, what this does is we're showing the subconscious mind this is possible. Like, look at this chick, she's doing it. Look at this other person, she is being that. Look at this, whatever, like that is possible. And we're giving proof over and over and over to our subconscious mind until it believes that it's absolutely inevitable. So it goes from being impossible to being possible to being inevitable. And when we get to that inevitable place, it's wonderful because our subconscious mind is like, of course, this is going to happen to me. Look at that one and that one and that one and that one. Everybody's doing it around me. Well, it's not everybody. It's your cosmos, your own cosmos where you are, where everybody's doing this kind of thing. But the more evidence you can give your subconscious mind, the more normal this seems.
I always remember a friend of mine. I mean, it's a very common phrase nowadays, but a friend of mine said it to me like 15 years ago, and he said, "You become the mixture or the merge of the five people you spend more time with." So it's important to spend time with people who are thinking of expanding, of growing, of evolving, and nowadays with technology, and especially after the pandemic, I feel like that's much more possible, and you can do it online. I think being part of a community of people who are challenging themselves is really can make a difference.
Absolutely. So now I'm interested. Tell us more about your own business that you've started as a career strategist. Which services do you offer, and what makes your approach unique?
So I have been in this place before. I have been lost. I have been in a place where I knew I wanted a career change, but I didn't know how to approach it. And I also know what it feels like to have the right guidance to change. So I've designed a program that is exactly what I needed when I was in these moments. And I think that's what makes it different. My method is called Connect. Well, it's in Spanish, but C for clarity, O for objectives, N for narrative, E for estrategia, which is strategy in Spanish, C for confidence, and then T for transformation. So the idea is to support professionals who are wanting to upgrade their careers, either going to grad school or changing industry or changing jobs or trying to pursue that opportunity that they never dared, with a process of accompaniment and support. And what is different is exactly that I don't offer like a ghostwriting service. Like I don't write your essays for you. I don't write your cover letters for you. I just support you in finding clarity and in telling your story in a way that is powerful, that is convincing, and that is life changing for you. Sometimes, as we discussed before, we've done things and we feel like they are not relevant or that they don't add to that job description of the job that I want to pursue, but they do. And when you find somebody who can help you understand with clarity who you are as a professional, that can be a game changer. So I offer different programs that are depending on what are your objectives, and then also 2-hour immersions to discuss strategy or specific job applications and interview preparation for job interviews. And it's been really amazing, and I'm super happy to be supporting professionals in going after their goals, or even defining what those goals are. So very similarly to Path to Purpose, if you are in a moment of your career where you feel you need a change and like you don't know which one it is, I'm here for that. Help you gain clarity on where it is you want to go career wise.
Absolutely. And you yourself, you've entered into Harvard, which we haven't mentioned. And now the people that you're working with are entering into Yale, Princeton, some of the Ivy League's American schools. So there's a nice pedigree.
Yes. I've supported people get into the top schools in the world: Oxford, Harvard, Columbia, Yale, NYU. And then I've also helped people in their job interviews for very important companies and banks. And I've also supported people who really want to change their careers. They have started teaching English and now they want to move into something completely different. So I'm super excited. And for me, the most important part is to see how people gain confidence in themselves. They really come to their side of the process, not just with a better optimized profile for their job applications or their grad school applications, but really with a lot of more confidence in themselves. And that's, for me, it's priceless.
Absolutely. So where can listeners find you online if they want to hang out with you, check your job, ask about Path to Purpose, whatever it might be? Where can they find you online?
They can find me on my Instagram account. Most of it is in Spanish. It's at Ana Chibán. I can share it then with you, Mer. But I speak English, as you can see, and I also work in English. It's just that my main social media now is focused on Spanish speakers. But of course, I also work with non-Spanish speakers. So
Absolutely.
feel free to reach me out.
Amazing. So we're going to have the link to your Instagram in the show notes in case people want to contact you or ask any kind of questions. You have a very engaged community. So I'm sure we can always add more followers and more engagement into that. So I like to finish the episode with 3 rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yes, I love this.
So the first one is, when was the last time you felt bliss?
The last time I felt bliss was yesterday when I went downstairs and my son was playing with his dad, just laughing out loud like 2 kids playing in a backyard. That was amazing.
Can you think of one idea that fundamentally changed your life?
Yes. When I was working in the law firm. I started working in a criminal law firm in Buenos Aires. One of my mentors, one of my bosses, he said to me, I was very stressed about a hearing that I had and I really didn't know how to tackle it. And I never had an oral hearing before. And he looked at me and he said, Annie, for being who you are, having studied where you studied and working where you work, you can do anything you want in life. I mean, he said it in a less polite way. You know? He said, you can do whatever the fuck you want in life. But okay. Forgive my French. And I looked at him and I was like, what are you even saying? Like, of course not. And now I realize he was right. I can do whatever I want in life. And that's a big privilege and a big responsibility as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you could choose one rule that everybody in the world needs to obey, what would it be?
Always be kind. You don't know what the other person is going through. And it's not about you. It's about what they're going through. So don't take it personally. Be kind and don't take it personally.
Absolutely. That would be such a good rule, actually.
Right? Yes. I mean, I have to apply to myself as well. It's not like...
And don't take it personal. Like sometimes people take things and it's not you. I swear, it's not you. It's me.
Practice what you preach. It's not easy, but yeah, don't take it personal.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this conversation. It's been a true joy having you and sharing and going into the depths once more with you. It's been a true joy. Thank you so much for being so bold and brave being in the podcast. It's really a true full circle moment. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Matt, for inviting me, and thank you for your amazing work. I hope this can convince those women on the fence to make a decision to invest in themselves and to really dare to be who they want to be, or even to start the work to discover who it is that they want to be, because it's really life changing. And thank you again for having me. I had so much fun, and I hope we can do it again at some point.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to listeners for being here. I will see you on the next episode. And in the meantime, in Blisstopia we trust.